It's time, once again, to analyze a fight scene from RWBY. As always, my beautiful patrons voted to decide which fight I'd be covering next, and if you want the opportunity to vote on whatever I do next time, consider becoming a patron. This time around, they made the excellent decision to analyze the Yang vs. Mercury fight from Volume 3. Ooh, what a thrilling one to cover. We got a big plot stuff happening, awesome action, and even a little bit of controversy here. Yeah, ooh, there's some things about this fight that people get up in arms over or got confused by, so we'll cover all of that. So let's not waste any more time, let's dive right in.
You better not go easy on me.
You wish.
So the point of the finale fights for the tournament was to get rid of the stage hazards. No outside forces to get in the way of the combatants, just raw skill and an even playing field. I did mention it before when I covered the funky fight, but that idea would have landed a lot better if the majority of the tournament fights didn't already primarily take place in the flat center area of the field, but elevating the platform here to have more of an opportunity to ring out is a lot more fun. This matchup was one a lot of people was waiting to see. Yang and Mercury had been paired up against each other in the openings for both volumes 2 and 3, and we were finally getting to see that. Also, there's clearly meant to be some sort of similarities and parallels between them as characters, primarily their weapons being very similar, except for the fact they're on her arms and his legs. If you listen to the director commentary for Volume 1, they said Yang supposedly struggles to fight characters who have an emphasis on kicking or using their legs. Which is a nice idea in theory, but not really something we can actually measure. The idea of this fight would have actually been much more tense if they had actually, hinted towards that in the show proper. After the first big initial strike, the two back off before Mercury takes the initiative and closes the distance. As a fun little note, their shadows will just regularly be a little off during the whole fight. Volume 3's shadows are always a little bit funky. Yang does a crazy vertical to flip over Mercury and just barely misses him with a quick shot. He should honestly count his blessings because he did nothing to avoid that bullet. Yang just happened to aim slightly off. Mercury again comes in to close the distance. Ironically, this is the opposite problem Yang had from her fight with Neo, who was constantly making sure to stay out of Yang's reach. Mercury swings towards Yang, but that's not a punch. Were you just trying to lazily slap her with a limp-wristed hand? Yang lands a hit, but the camera suddenly shifts and reveals that Mercury had also gotten his boot all up in there. Once again, the two simultaneously take a hit from each other. As they recoil, Mercury uses some rounds to right himself, and Yang takes the opportunity, now that there's distance between them, to fire off a barrage. We could assume Yang has learned her lesson from her loss against Neo, and has started to take advantage of long-distance attacks more, so she's not always in the middle of danger. Unfortunately for her, Mercury is not only very fast, but also his wind bullets help to really launch him, so he quickly gets back within range of her. Look at this crazy mid-air spin he does. I think it was one turn too many than he really needed. Big hit that's really easy to block, and if Yang was smarter, she would take this opportunity to sweep out his other leg from underneath him. Mercury is super exposed right now, but Yang, in this point of time of her combat skills, only ever thinks about her fists as a part of her arsenal of weaponry. When Tai tells her to think smarter, this is a good example of that. She had a lot of opportunity here, and she totally blows it due to her insistence on using only her hands to fight. She even does a pathetic little kick way after she's already thrown him off of her, while he's twirling in midair a billion times.
He's a magical pony flying to the sky.
And because of her pathetic too-late kick, she ends up missing her shot when he's landing, leaving her open for another hit. I don't think a lot of people realize is that Mercury is actually incredibly smart, especially when it comes to fighting. He has to be, since he doesn't have a semblance to rely on in battle. Yang is able to catch herself from hitting the ground, and now it's her turn to close the distance between them. Though I'm willing to bet it's not because of a strategy, I bet she's just getting Yangry. She once again whiffs 2 shots from super close range. Maybe Yang needs glasses? She's missed every bullet round so far. So, new headcanon, Yang needs glasses. Wait, didn't I make this headcanon before? Yang has this huge wind-up, but then completely whiffs it? Seriously, it doesn't even look like she was close to hitting the cat. Maybe Yang needs glasses. New headcanon. Yang is farsighted. Get her some glasses. Oh my god, Yang is farsighted. She's needed glasses this whole time. Yang needs glasses. Yang actually needs glasses. I think her last 2 rounds do technically hit. I think his aura just protected him, so they didn't really do anything to him though. Yang tries using her leg to block him again, and to be fair, it did sort of work. But also, Yang, honey, leg work is his specialty. Of course he cracked your skull open and bonked your other knee out. What was your plan here? The one thing Yang is actually really excellent at is her evading him. She's managed to dodge or rewrite herself a couple of crucial times. They trade a few blows, blocking or evading the whole time. Then Yang dodges this huge dropkick from him, and this shot is one of my favorites. The ground exploding into bits is so cool. It does a phenomenal job displaying the power behind his attack. A couple of lazy little kicks for both combatants. Perhaps the two of them are starting to get worn out by now. Mercury uses a kick to push himself a bit further away, and then when we cut to see how he's landed, homeboy's gonna be walking funny for a week. Doing breakdance moves to play around with leg-based combatants is always a good idea. Do that. Just every time. Do breakdancing whenever you can. It always looks cool. Yang waits for Mercury to close the distance again, only this time she actually comes in with more offense than defense and lands an amazing uppercut on him. While he's reeling from that, Yang, I kid you not, drops down and crashes her elbow directly into Mercury's dick. And then she uses her other arm to follow that up and then just shoots him in the dick.
But as I do, I ball up my other fist and I put it out in the dick again.
This is the first time Mercury's really been caught off guard, and we can see he doesn't have nearly as much good recovery as Yang does. Yang's used to bouncing back and readjusting after taking a hit. Mercury's strategy is to just not get hit at all. Yang takes his floundering as an opportunity to launch a barrage, and look, her gauntlets just totally phase right through her elbow this whole time. Mercury tries to flip out of the way, but ends up getting hit and almost tumbles out of the arena. But this boy's played enough Smash Brothers to get himself back up onto the stage. In all seriousness, this is a great beat for the fight, because you think Yang might actually win here for a second. It's really great for building the tension. He gets back to Yang and does these little kicking things. I'm not sure if he's actually hitting her or just trying to like juke her out. I think he might just be trying to make Yang crunch up onto herself so she's in this defensive position so it's easier for him to land a volley on her. He barely misses her a couple of times. And look! More proof of far-sighted Yang. That fist is nowhere near him, babe. He's right next to you. How do you miss him this badly? Somebody get her some glasses now. She goes to fire at him, but Mercury actually does something super cool. He kicks her hands so it moves off target. I love that kind of thing in combat. Here he is, coming close, and still manages to miss her. I don't know how he did this. She barely even ducked out of the way. Mercury's leg went way over her head. It must have confused Yang too, because Merc gets the chance to land a huge hit on her. Suddenly, Mercury decides to use his bullets offensively rather than for propulsion. I think he doesn't usually use them to actually hit his opponents too often, because he has to do some crazy high kicks just to get the bullets to aim right towards his opponent. He also somehow is able to bounce the bullet off of the ground to ricochet towards Yang. Look, even she's like, what the fuck? How did he do that? Time for a super barrage of bullets. Yeah. Fun fact, we see Yang standing and dodging some bullets, but when we cut to this shot behind Mercury, it looks like Yang is actually kneeling here. Yang manages to close the distance and launches her own bullet, but if we look carefully, we can actually see that Mercury uses his arm to block the swing so the bullet misses him. Mercury decides to throw a lazy little punch. This fight really highlights how Mercury's punches and Yang's attempts at kicking just suck. They never look right. Truly, they are opposites of each other. They trade a few blows, and then you might get distracted with these shots where Mercury seems to be showing Yang his ass, but don't let that distract you from his horribly broken wrist back there. You were busy staring at Mercury's cake, but I noticed his hand twisting out of its socket. Yang seems to jump out of the way of his donkey kick here, but he takes the opportunity to send her flying back down into the arena, and his Mercury's bullets come flying in to get her too. Controversy number 1. Yeah, remember when I said this fight has some crazy shit going down? Here's the first one. How does his bullets do that? They circled around them until this moment where they all homed in on Yang. They don't seem to have any homing devices or anything, so how did he do this? Some people have theorized that this was actually his semblance, and he was directing the wind in his wind dust-infused bullets, but we find out that he doesn't have a semblance, so that doesn't work. Some people thought this might have been an illusion from Emerald, but that doesn't make sense because Yang clearly actually gets hurt from the bullets, since her aura almost entirely gets depleted. Personally, I think it was just done for style points, like animation-wise. We see Nora's grenades will also have crazy spins to them when they go flying. I think this was just for the sake of looking cool. That's a bit of a double-edged sword with Ruby. Usually when something cool happens, there's a specific reason for it. So in moments like this, when it's not really clarified how things happened the way they did, people start to wonder if there's more going on. Controversy number 2. So, did Yang actually beat Mercury, or did Mercury throw the match on purpose? When we've talked about Yang's skills as a fighter, sometimes it gets pointed out how Yang beats Mercury here, but some people argue that this fight isn't a good judge for how strong Yang is because Mercury purposefully loses. I would argue that this expression right here, when Yang comes back in from the hit, this is not the expression of a man who was expecting what was coming towards him. Also, the announcers hadn't have called out that she was done fighting, there was no buzzer. Mercury had no reason to think the fight was over. All he thought was that he didn't have anything to worry about once she did recover from his barrage, which he was wrong. Personally, I don't think Emerald and Mercury's plan needed Yang to specifically win to work out. If Mercury won, have Yang see the illusion, she hits him, and then they paint the narrative that she's a sore loser who doesn't know when to stop fighting after she's lost. If she wins, like how she does in the show, do the illusion and paint it like a blood-hungry fighter who keeps going after the fighting's supposed to be over. The plan was never really about painting Yang in a specific light, it was just to make something tragic happen to stir up unrest and attract the grim. Winning or losing wasn't important. All they needed was for Mercury to get his leg broken at the end. So no, based on that and seeing this expression here, I don't think Mercury threw the fight. I think Yang actually won based on her own skills as a fighter. So, after his bullet tornado, Yang powers up and comes flying in with a massive hit. Mercury has the time to get into a block position, but it still knocks him back with her force. We get a quick shot of her shifting, showing us she's not flying in without a care, she's really taking the time to stop and reassess her next move. She closes the distance again, and we can already see her stepping wide to avoid his upcoming kick. See? Stopping to think for a second was a good idea, huh? She dodges a second strike, blocks a third one, and you could tell Mercury was regretting a few of his decisions by this point. Yang finishes off with her classic Dempsey rolls, just like she did against Junior in her trailer. In fact, if you line up the shots, you can see they actually are almost exactly the same as each other, which is a really cool touch. One last massive hit, and fun fact, this is the first time we ever see aura breaking. Yeah, 6 episodes into the show's 3rd season is totally a great time to introduce this incredibly important battle mechanic. This was so out of nowhere that for a long time, people assumed this was just like the shockwave of her hit. Anyways, one last hefty punch to get the kid away from her, and Yang is the victor. Except, oh no! It's controversy number 3!
There's not going to be a next time, Blondie.
So, what's the controversy here? What was Emerald's illusion? We know that Emerald at this point in time was only able to comfortably make one person see an illusion. She could do 2 people, but it was a lot more work for her.
Headache. 1 mind I can handle, but 2 is a stretch.
So the questionable aspect comes in when we see how Yang punches his leg. The first time, his leg is clearly in mid-air, about the same height as her torso. So when we compare that to the real punch and we see it on the Jumbotron, it feels a bit weird that her punch ends up being aimed down towards his legs, which is lower than torso height here. Some people were unsure which of these 2 events was the real thing. And I think the real problem is just With the Jumbotron footage, they just don't place Mercury in quite the right spot. If he was like a little bit further away from her, I don't think there would have been as much confusion about why her punch doesn't seem to line up properly between the two angles. But also, I think the fact it wasn't really clear sort of added to the fun of the mystery. For the week between this episode and the next one when we got our answers, everyone was going crazy trying to figure out what the hell happened here. So, that was the Yang versus Mercury fight. It's a really amazing one. One of the few that I've covered in the series that doesn't have any dialogue in it. Nothing interrupts the fight at all from start to finish. We don't cut away, we don't stop to chat. It was an amazing way to finally get to see this matchup we've been waiting to see. It's a super smart one. I went back and watched it over and over and over again after the episode came out, and it's clear to see why. This is one of RWBY's bests. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Nako, Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Zero to Hero, Scaring Crows, Messiah Complex, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, Omega Fighter, Trash, Josh, Gino, Twisty, Juan, and Duncan. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you had fun with it. I love these analysis videos. They're so much fun to do. They're so much fun to research. Was there anything you saw that I missed, or anything you think about how Yang definitely needs glasses? She so needs glasses. Any thoughts and opinions about this fight, or any other fights you want to see me cover, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.